Hello, Tovarish, and welcome back to the Discerning Gamer. So we're here with episode 2 of our Suka to Stalin series, where I'm trying to teach myself how to get better at Soviet Union in Multiplayer Company of Heroes 2. And first things first, quick shout out to all the guys who gave me comments and tips after the first episode. That's Account Eliminator, or AE, over on Reddit, as well as Yodlaf Peterson, and also Ultra Bradman on CoH2.org. Thank you very much for your watching the episode, guys, and giving me tips. Hopefully it's helped me improve, as we'll show in the episode. So we're looking at 4 games today, 3 of which I won and made some minor mistakes on, and also sort of want to talk about how I improved to win those games in the first place. And then the 4th one, where I made a pretty fundamental mistake and some minor mistakes to learn from. So the first one we're looking at is against Ass Kicker Legend, and I think you're kind of just asking for trouble if you call yourself that, aren't you? But I opened up 4 conscripts as per usual, and managed to take a good bit of the map to start off with, outnumbered his Grens and traded quite efficiently, and was able to force his machine gun off the map with my engineers, I've just shown there. Then I was just able to constantly attack him from multiple angles, get Molotovs onto his machine guns, and just trade efficiently, keep his men off the map and make it so that most of the time I was engaging it would be like 1 squad of grenadiers versus 2 squads of conscripts, or a conscript and an engineer or something like that, so I would just edge out the advantage. And then I bought out a fairly early guard squad just to add a bit of nice DPS and backbone to my forces. And I think during this play session I really began to appreciate guards a bit more, in that if you can get them firing at the right range and operating within cover, they just pay for themselves all day. Again here, nice flank on the machine gun, just able to take it out with a Molotov and trade reasonably effectively against the Grens and the Pioneers there. And this engagement really illustrates the value you get from the Guardsmen. They don't even have DPs at this point, but just with the grenade and some cover, and even a slight micro mistake that my conscripts were too far back to be firing the whole time, they're just able to mop up those 2 grenadier squads. And I think also with the conscripts coming forward on the Molotov, they actually managed to get the wipe on a Vet2 Gren squad there, which is a big thing at sort of 10 minutes into the game. So then I bring out the T70. I've managed to preserve all of my units so far. They're racking up some veterancy, which is nice, and the T70 just goes to work, driving off machine guns. And generally, I think because I've managed to take a good portion of the map and sort of harass into his side of the map, as you can see I'm capping both the VPs now. For me, the T70 was just kind of a rear linesman in this match, going around and stopping him from back capping me. And again, I kept constantly at least decapping his fuel, and just forcing him to be constantly dedicating his dwindling squads to recapping the map rather than being out to fight me. I brought out the Ziz gun there, and it was just in time as the Panzer IV rocked up, and I did spot it with my engineers there. I think the P4 was going over that side to look for the T70. It finds it and then thinks, oh yeah, I've got dinner here served up. But unfortunately, the Soviet human swarm descends on him, hits him with the AT grenades. Rifles are just, PTRSs from the guards' rifles are just plinking away on his rear armour there. And even the little T70 gets involved, which is just cute. Unfortunately, in this engagement, I don't lose, well, it's not unfortunate, I don't lose my T70, but unfortunately I'm not able to finish him off. But with the damaged engine and half his health gone, that P4 is out of the game for absolutely ages. As you'll just take a note of the time, it's roughly 16 or 17 minutes it got taken out. I bring out a second T70, just using it on the sides of the map to hold on to those and harass his cap points. Also managed to pick up a lovely squad wipe on some stormtroopers there. And we'll see here, it's 19 minutes is just about when the P4 is able to get out on the field after that repair. So it just bought me 2 minutes of breathing time with which to cap the map and to completely nullify his investment in that P4. He then gets out a second one, and here's where I make a real mistake of, I basically kept my T70 in the same place he saw it last repairing, and so he was just able to get both of his P4s over there and blow it away with no resistance. And really, with the T70, you need to pull it back every time and deploy it in certain situations. You don't want to have it out there to start off with. He then races down to sort of my rear lines, takes out my second T70, but finds himself trapped with 2 guard squads and the Ziz gun firing at him. I'm able to take out one of the P4s and lightly damage the other one, and 2 T70s for a P4.5. It's not ideal, but it's not a terrible trade either, especially when you consider that I've still got a huge infantry advantage, being that he's only got 3 combat squads and a Pioneer out, and the Pioneer is not going to be capping. He needs to repair that P4, and then I just descend forward with my remaining infantry and I'm able to force him off his fuel again and just exert dominance on the rest of the map. We then get into another tussle with a second P4 that he's brought out again. I'm able to pop an anti-tank grenade on the first one, and just look at how good the Guards' rifles are. I mean, they do get take heavy losses in that engagement, but they still drop a tank, and it didn't take that long for that to happen. I don't think that P4 really could have gotten away, even if it was better microed. So I really am a big fan of the Guards troops here, and I'm just able to take hold of the middle of the map until I bring out a KV-1 here, and that this is really, you know, able to seal the deal with my 4 conscripts and 3 Guards teams here, plus the Ziz gun, which has just been steadily racking up experience. I probably could have been more aggressive with it, used it on a few barrages, but it worked well enough. And since I took a big gap from playing the game, and one thing I've noticed in this latest patch is that tanks absolutely wreck infantry. Before, when I spent a lot of time playing the game previously, you were able to dance infantry around tanks, no problem whatsoever. And, you know, they wouldn't take horrific losses, but now it's like every tank shot's going to take out at least 3 or 4 models, so that's something I need to adjust for. I mean, here you can just see that the KV-1 is just takes horrible tolls with only 2 tank rounds, and those Grens are combat ineffective. Also, look at the armor on the front of that thing's brilliant. You know, the P4's got off about 6 shells between them there. Also, the Stug and the P4, and it just gave 0 fucks. And yeah, I think he realised he wasn't going to win that situation there, so that was the end of that one. On to the next match. This was against another Ostheer, and he went for a interesting opening, which I don't think was really the best. It was 3 Pioneers and an MG. I think his idea was that he was going to rush for a quick tech, use the number of Pioneers just to quickly cap and harass and hold down things like his fuel and key resources with those. But, you know, I was able to spread out my 4 conscripts and just push his Pios all over the map. I made a mistake here, got 2 squads pinned down on his MG, but was able to extricate those. And just to note, Molotovs do nothing to fuel OPs. But I did think I might have the MG there. However, I was pushed off by the Pioneers. Also worth noting is Pioneers do no damage at range against Engineers, or you know, anything really. So if you can stand back, even if you don't have cover, it doesn't matter too much. So this was quite critical. I'd taken a really nice toll, you know, pushed him off the map and made him retreat, so I put some mines out, and this really saved my bacon. He could have pushed back really hard here, but the 222 that he'd obviously rushed out with his very svelte infantry offering in the opening portions of the game just completely nullified again for about a minute, just buying me a lot of breathing room. And I dropped another mine there next to his fuel cache, which I didn't actually see it go off. Mistake there, I horribly bunched some conscripts around some cover there, and they were all taken out by a single Sturmpire bundle grenade. Now my T70 makes its way out. I was able to use it to hunt down the 222 as I controlled his Panzer Grenadiers with the Panzerschrecks down lower on the map with my NGs and my conscripts, and then the T70 was just allowed to be a shrieking terror in the night, running around killing his infantry. And here was another sort of key moment where he had the machine gun in the church, Panzerschrecks coming up in support of it, and the pack gun. However, the pack gun was actually not able to be covered properly by the machine gun, and he overextended his Panzer Grenadiers, which then got taken out. Now, the PPSH conscripts were able to completely muller the pack gun, drop a molly on the Pios just to force them off, and then all of the anti-tank had been neutralised, and the T70 was just allowed to come in and do its work again. So I nearly lost that conscript squad there, and you'll notice a number of sloppy retreats that I wasn't punished for, but at higher levels of the game, I know I'd be losing stuff there. That was sloppy as well. Just, again, I did exactly the same thing. I didn't retreat the T70 far enough, and the pack gun and P-Grens with the Shreks just walked up and, you know, opened the can on that one. You really need to keep it back and deploy it in situations where it's never going to be a threat. It's got to be for controlling the sides of the map or swooping in to pick up a retreat kill in a safe situation. Anyway, it didn't matter too much. I still got the infantry advantage. I quickly replaced it with a T-34 76 and went for a pretty ballsy rush on the pack there. Then the P-Grens with the Shreks came in, the Guards rifles were firing at them, and I just sort of baited them around that house. Obviously, sight blockers are a great way to nullify the effects of anti-tank, and the T-34 was just able to escape. Game ended soon after. It was, I think it was not the best opening from him, but some little highlights and learnings to take from that. Moved on against a game versus OKW, which actually started really poorly. I'd got my 3 conscript squads out. I was just pushing up to take my fuel on one of the VPs, and I see some Volksgrens round there. They take a really nice bit of fire originally until they get into the house, and then I was just sort of thinking, well, I've got cover, I've got them outnumbered, I can just sit here and plink away at them all day. Apart from, there was another squad just off my screen that was behind the cover of my second conscript squad and just killed like 5 of them for nothing, and then also had the flank on my other conscript squad. Meanwhile, I didn't drop a single model on that first Volksgren squad. Then I got bullied completely with the Sturmpires coming in on an already embattled conscript. So skipping ahead a little bit, he's got most of the map here. He's on my side of the map, and I'm got my 4 conscripts out. So I was able to see the Sturmpires and lock them down, firing at them in range from green cover. The other conscripts were in great position and able to inflict really heavy losses on his already weak Volksgrens from the first battle. And then the engineers were able to hold their own on the other side of the map, so he was trying to sort of pull my attention away that way. And the Sturmpires, you know, you can, as long as you keep them at range, you can control them. And here I kind of, as soon as I pushed off those other 2 Volksgrens, I took my other 2 conscripts and pushed further onto the map, took his cutoff and then took his fuel, and very nearly wiped his Sturmpio there, so that was really efficient. And then I kind of turned the opening game situation around on him again, took cover in a house, and brought up my second squad there, and was able to molly the house that he took cover in, and just inflict a load of losses for very little, until he managed to get his flak half-track out. So that pushed me off, but I hadn't really lost much of the map, and I was able to do some mining with my engineers that I also upgraded with a flamethrower on the left side of the map. He was sort of keen, I think, to exploit his flak half-track and blobbed up a load of his infantry around that. I got some guards out and was upgrading them with the DP-28. I also had a Maxim, and that blob just, it was fatal for him because all 3 of his units got hit by the Maxim there and had to retreat before they took losses. Then the guards were able to force off his Volks, and the half-track was just left there under their fire. They buttoned it and it had to pop smoke to escape, and the horrible miss micro there got them stuck behind the wall, and it's hanging on by a single shred, and unfortunately because they got pushed by the wall to the wall, they couldn't chase it fast enough to kill it. So that was a pain in the arse, and I clumsily lost a conscript squad in negative cover there. However, the guards were just able to wreak some huge losses with the grenade and keep hold of the middle. T70 came in, I raced it forward to see if I could catch him out with the flak half-track, but unlike me, he was clever enough to retreat it to his base to repair it, and the T70 is just able to go on a little tear, picking up some kills here, and I think finishing off this squad before it retreats, which is just what it's so great for. Then we move into a more major engagement, which I'm more than ready for, really. I'm decapping his fuel to pull him in one direction, got the machine gun set up in the middle. The T70 then heads off to intercept the 2 Volks that have gone to take his fuel back, just stay nicely out of range from the Sturmpires with the Shrek, and that conscript can sit there in that house all day because for some reason he wasn't using incendiary grenades. Then the guards, slightly out of position, they're able to put the hurt on the Shrek. and enable the T70 to come back in. Unfortunately, he moves up the Raketten, and I catch the damage that it does to my T70 and manage to pull back just in time. Machine guns moved up to provide a little bit of extra support. He drops some Fallschirmjäger in behind it. I bring out an Su-76, and I'm not sure whether this was the right choice. I just left the machine gun there because I knew it would suppress them more than they would suppress it. However, once they were pretty suppressed, I managed to retreat it from there. So the Su-76 was a very safe play in this situation in case he got further armour out. I probably could have got another T70 and made good use of that, but my T70 Micro is nothing to write home about, so I thought play it safe with the Su-76 when he brings out. I mean, it's something that's got legs for the majority of the game until you get really heavy tanks out. And also I start to use the barrage here. It's kind of useful and supports my guards against his push into the middle. Takes a couple of kills there. And when the rest of my recently reinforced infantry show up, I'm able to push him off the middle there with some well-placed grenades and the barrage still going on. We then skip onwards to another incursion he makes towards the middle of the map. Again, he blobs up really hard here throughout the map, and I think that was the main problem of his play, really. And the machine gun's just able to, you know, make good job against everything that he brings in there. The barrage nearly kills that Fallschirmjäger squad, and the conscripts and guards rifles are just able to get really good use there. They do spend a bit of time in negative cover. It was probably sloppy positioning, and I do lose one of the cons there. However, the T70 is able to finish the job and just push them off there. And that was a really nice shot between a 120mm mortar and the T70 that just finishes off his squad, and he capitulated soon after that. So now we're on to the fourth and final game for this episode, and that was against a Ostheer Prince Naef, who I faced again on Crossing on the Roads. He went for a much more sensible opening of 2 Grens and an MG. I spotted it in the middle and got out before it was able to damage my conscripts, and then I was sort of doing some capping. And what I should have done here, I think, is brought all 3 conscripts into the middle to force off that MG. But I did have the flank on it. He reacts really quickly and gets it out before I can do any damage to it. But I get both the conscripts moving in once the MG's mobile. However, he's playing quite a tight game, not grabbing too much of the map. And so both of his Grens are to hand to support that MG coming in from either side there. And here I definitely overextended with this conscript. I wanted to force the MG off, but I didn't quite appreciate how much damage I was going to take from A, the quick burst that it managed to get off in close range, but also the sustained fire of the 2 Grens while no one was firing at them. In this game, I really learnt the limitations of conscripts, particularly against Grens and veteran Grens. You know, if you don't have them outnumbered 2 to 1, you can't win reliably, and the whole of this game I was just bleeding manpower like a stuck pig, which I think was really the key to my downfall in this one. And this sort of demonstrates that, you know, if you do get, you know, I've got 10 conscripts there firing, and they will cut through Grens reliably quickly, but you've got to have the numerical advantage on them here. And again, I try and do what I've done in the other games where I try to use one conscript to draw fire and the other one to flank, and because the Grens are there, they just get cut to shreds before they can even get their Molotov off. So we both went for a mortar, oddly. The Crossing in the Woods, I feel like, is a really good map for a mortar, so I thought, oh yeah, I'll do that and that will help me with his MG, but I hadn't realised what a problem the Grens were. I tried to lay a mine with a bit of free time there, but unfortunately he spots it and fires a rifle grenade, which is really smart because it gets rid of the mine and also kills a engineer, and only with a bit of quick micro was I able to escape with my engineer squad complete there. And again, it's just a case of all 4 of my conscripts are in the same place here, but the 3 Grens plus the MG just take it out so efficiently. You know, already 1 conscript squad's been forced to retreat. The other 2 have taken losses to the point where really they don't want to hang around much longer. And I do get the molly off on his MG, and it's forced off. However, there's 3 Grenadier squads on, you know, in pretty good shape left to contend with against my 2 conscripts, and they're just, you know, no way going to be able to deal with that. So what I should have done is, rather than the mortar, which is not, you know, it does good work throughout this game. I do manage to keep it alive, but I should have gone for the guard squad first, because they would have much more reliably done work against those grenadiers rather than the mortar. Also, another point, I didn't use the smoke barrage to neutralise the MG with the mortar at all, and I think that's probably a bit of wasted potential there. Again, I was able to force the mortar off, but while I was doing that, he was able to use some flame pyres to kill another one of my engineer squads, and I lost both of my engineer squads in this game, and that I really felt that impact my capping, because I wasn't ever really forcing him off the map. I mean, there his Panzer Grenadiers got forced back, but instantly replaced by another 2 Gren squads, which meant that I never had the kind of rhythm where I could take an advantageous engagement with him and then use that to take some of the map. And then another big mistake I made in this game is the Su-76 that I bought out. That was just like some sort of horrible floppy appendage in how useless it was for the, most of the game. Also, another point here is I thought, oh yeah, I've just taken out these Panzer Grenadiers with this mine, took out 2 models, that's nice. And then I'll lose the engineer squads to a bundle grenade. I should have retreated them there, really. But the in the centre, the Su-76, it did get a couple of barrages off, but a T70 would have been much better there to just neutralise some of the advantage that his grenadiers got. But because it wasn't the first thing out, he had a pack gun to respond to it and was able to really neutralise the advantage that the T70 was going to give me with that initial timing if I'd have bought that out first instead. So here we see another big push towards the middle, and one mistake, I mean, first of all, he's just got so much infantry that my one squad of conscripts there, there's just a huge micro mistake in that my guards are put in a position where they're not able to return fire for the whole thing. Neither are my second squad of conscripts, and I almost just sort of trickle feed him my manpower here without ever coming, meeting force with force properly and making sure that he lost as much as I did. And also my T70 was just off on the one side of the map, I think hoping to catch one of his squads out, but it would have been really useful in that engagement, just, firing away, because usually each one of its shells drops at least 1 model. So now it's a really uncomfortable situation because we're kind of level pegging with the number of squads we've got out, which you don't want as a Soviet. He then brings out a P4, and I made that same mistake again with my T70 of keeping it in the last place that he spotted it, and I was just using it to clear some of these anti-infantry mines on the VP, and it just rocks up there, and it's like, oh, hello, little T70, I'm going to blow you the fuck up, which is most frustrating. Then there's another engagement in the centre where his I'm sort of making some good ground against him, and the P4 just rocks up. And this was really unfortunate. I feel like the game would have gone differently had this gone. I just microed this a little bit better. I managed to mark target him and button the P4. However, I didn't move my Su-76 or my guards quick enough to catch him on the retreat. So with the tiniest ounce of health left, it's just able to reverse away from all my units, and there's no hope of catching it here, which was just a huge pain in the arse. Then we look at another engagement in the middle where the Su-76 is just next to useless with its barrage. I lose a squad of guards by engaging at the wrong range with them and not retreating. And the other squad there, again, they're just outnumbered, they're bleeding manpower, they drop a PTRS, it's just, deeply unsatisfying, and the Su-76 there is just, unfortunately, not doing what it needs to do. Probably bad targeting on my point, or perhaps I should have had something else with it. So my 2 conscripts show up. Again, they're able to force off one of his squads, and then I think his Panzer Grenadiers as well. However, actually they wiped the squad, so there's that in their favour. However, there's just still too much left. He's got those Grens with the MG42, which at range and with the support of the machine gun can just sit there all day and chop up conscripts no problem, especially being as they're Vet 3. Here was just one little bit of redemption for me here. I was able to use the sides of the map a bit better and get some of my conscripts around and kill his AT gun crew there, which is nice just to get rid of some of the veterancy on it. However, again, the Grens and P-Grens are just able to force them off. So at this point, I got out a T-34-85, which I horribly misplayed, and I thought, again, if I'd have just played this better, this would have been a very different match. I was able to use it to force off those P-grains, and I thought, oh, I'll go for the squad wipe. Little do I notice that the P4's come in behind and just killed my Su-76 without being hit itself. Then I'm in this horrible overextended position with no infantry support, my T-34-85. It takes a pack shell up the arse, and then the Panzer IV is just able to blitzkrieg or overdrive its engines somehow and just take it out as it tries to retreat. So again, that is one point. If I'd have kept the Su-76 and the T-34-85 and just been a little bit more conservative with them, I would have been able to put that P4 to bed relatively easy and actually probably force his infantry off the map and carve a bit of a advantage for myself out here. However, unfortunately, it just never happened, and he's able to use the P4 to bully me off the map. So I get out my second T-34-85 and spring a nice trap on it here on the P4. Doesn't do as much damage because of the armoured skirting, and then by this point he's got his Tiger out, which, you know, I've just got no answer to at this point, and my infantry's still bleeding manpower and dropping like flies, and I just knew I had to throw the towel in at this point. So the big learning from this map for me was, you know, if you're going up against a German who knows how to micro his infantry well, make sure you put something out there that's going to give you an advantage in that infantry fight, and also watch your vehicle micro and engineer micro and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that brings us to the end of the second episode of Suka to Stalin, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you're following along, I hope it's been useful. In the next episode, I should have my 1v1 ranking, so I'll let you know what that is, and we can follow from episode to episode how much I'm able to improve. I think also we'll start the next episode with a look at a high-tier replay to see what I can get out of that, and then perhaps show a couple of my replays trying to implement some of that learning on there during the course of those. If you're enjoying the series, guys, don't forget to get subscribed so you don't miss the next episode. Also, if you'd like what I'm doing here, drop us a like on the video to help the channel grow. In the description of the video, my Discord is linked, so feel free to hop on there. I look at that regularly. It's good to have a chat with you guys and maybe arrange some games. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.